because of COVID-19, the fashion industry has had to make changes. For example, runway shows are not going to happen on the same scale this fall. What impact are you seeing from COVID-19 on modeling specifically and in the fashion industry at large? Do you hope that any of these changes last beyond the pandemic? And I believe, Renee, that question was for you.
Yeah, so I can only speak about what I've seen in New York City. I can't really speak on other states or in other countries, but from what I've noticed, a lot of things have gone digital, and I really think that's going to last beyond COVID-19, whenever we don't see an end in sight right now, but whenever that end appears, because I think, you know, brands and companies have had to get really creative, which then in turn has required models to take on more responsibility in the creative process. At the beginning of quarantine, so middle of March, a lot of brands and companies reached out to agencies to have models shoot from home. And so I think that was the biggest pivot. Models had to start learning how to shoot their own, on their own, style on their own, and come up with something that looked beautiful despite having very little tools. I think that will continue. It's still happening now, these remote shoots, because it is less expensive and there's less risk. When it comes to in-person fashion shows or shoots, I don't think fashion shows are going to be happening anytime soon, but I know shoots have started up again, at least in New York City and in California, and it's basically essential people only. So again, models might be having to do their own makeup and hair. There's maybe no assistants, just stylist and photographer. So right now, I think it's really important for models to kind of learn some of those skills, whether it be photography, styling, hair and makeup, if you haven't already started practicing that, because it's going to be really important in the future. And if you're someone who lives in a very nice apartment or lives by like a beautiful park, it's definitely something you should let your agency know, because these brands are looking for amazing locations with models who can do it all. And I don't think that's going to be stopping anytime soon, especially since, there is talks of perhaps a second wave. And so I think everyone's just staying on their toes and just preparing for anything at this point.
Just picking up on that point, a couple of points you're saying, Renée, and also your earlier question where you're talking about being multifaceted. Mm-hmm. I think from our research too, and what we've seen is that even before COVID, there was a pressure to do that. The bad news is that modeling is commoditizing. Yeah. In the future, people are going to be paid less and they're going to work a hell of a lot more and be less safe as well. And that's the real dilemma. And what COVID has done, what we've seen COVID has done, is it's accelerating that process. And so it's like Warren Buffett says that when the tide goes out, you discover who's swimming naked. So what COVID has done is cleared out the water, and you see the weak practices there. Right? And what we need to do going forward is really think about how do we make modeling more value add through initiatives like Renée's, for instance. So you as a model, you face a real crucial fork in your road, which is much sooner than you expected because of COVID. You can go one way, which is go down the commoditization route and end up with a pretty grim future. Or you can choose to value add in your career. You can choose to have those skills and mindsets you need and build yourself either a successful career in modeling, in fashion, or outside fashion.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Really right now, it's like you said, whoever sinks or swims type of thing. It's really the survival of the fittest. If you can adapt to these changes right now, your career will definitely outlast a lot of other people's. But if you can't adapt as quickly as others, you will be left behind, unfortunately. And I do think some of the practices that are happening now, whether remote shoots, self-styling, all those type of things, I think it will persist beyond COVID. I think some of these brands will continue to use these adaptations long after COVID has passed.
Yep.
Great insight. Thank you so much. And thank you for quoting Warren Buffett. That was awesome. That was amazing. Thank you. So next question, and if anyone, again, has any follow-up to that, just please type it in. But as you all know, It can be difficult in the typical circumstances for a model to make it in the fashion industry. Unfortunately, this year has been anything but typical. What are the steps models can take to reach their career goals during and after the pandemic? And I believe this is for Sundran and Renée again.
Okay, shall I take a stab at it first, Renée?
Yeah.
And then you can come up with the real answer after that. So when I started doing the consultation we were doing, the message I got from a number of our model ambassadors for RTM was that the most successful models are not the most beautiful, they're the most proactive. And it took me a while to work out what that actually means. And what it means is that you as a model, you need to treat yourself as a business and a brand. Right? And once you get that, I think the sort of paths are clear. So I would sort of say, you're a business and a brand, you need to act like a business and a brand. And that means 3 steps in this really difficult time. Number 1 is go back and revisit where you want to be in 3 years' time. I know it might be difficult for you now to think about where you're going to be in 3 days or 3 weeks, but in these times of uncertainty, this is a good time to put a stake in the ground and sort of say, this is what I want to do. Now, having said that, you need to have a plan A and a plan B. So the plan A, you shoot for the stars. You know, you're going to be the next greatest supermodel to walk the earth and possibly the moon if Bezos gets his act together. But you also need a fallback to say, well, you know, I know that's a 5%, 10% possibility. What else do I want to do as well? How do I want to make this a sustainable career? So go back and spend some time, talk to your folks, talk to your friends, really understand where you want to be in 3 years' time. Number 1. Number 2 is this is a difficult time for a lot of models. We know that, particularly financially. So look at yourself as a business and say, what do I need to do to survive over the next few weeks and months as well? Think when work starts reinflating and it's going to start picking up again, think about what work, you know, look at those opportunities you need to do and think of what you need to do to just keep food on your table and to be able to go out to the occasional movie or nightclub as well. And then also think on the other side as well, not just about your earnings, but about your costs. Maybe you're going to have to move back in with your parents. I know that's a horrendous thought, but you know, think about how you can be sensible about costs as well, because now it's really about knuckling down and getting on with it. But then as well, I mean, also, once you've got that sort of sorted out a bit, think about the longer term goal you have as well and how you're going to be able to achieve that. What sort of opportunities are out there to seize as well. And given this time, you know, maybe you've got added impetus to go out there and sort of say, look, I think I want to cross over to another industry. Maybe I want to go more into marketing, or maybe I want to be more of an influencer. And think about the mindsets and skills you would want to build at this point and start investing in them. But the great thing about you as a group is I'm assuming you're all, you know, youngish, 18, 25, 30. This is a great time to do that. You know, when you're oldish, 50, 16, so it's much more challenging. So those are the 3 steps that I would suggest you do at this point.
You made so many great points, especially the one about looking at what your 3-year plan is and kind of reevaluating. That's one of the points I actually wrote down is really reflect on your goals right now. And if you are signed with an agency, make sure your bookers are aware of them. So everybody's on the same page and they can kind of help you, you know, along your career journey in the next few years or few months, however long it might be, because it's really important to have everyone on the same page and to communicate clearly. And also right now, what you can do as an individual is to build your social media presence. Like I mentioned earlier, having everyone's going digital, fashion, models, every industry, honestly, it's like the one thing you can really control right now on your own. So definitely share more about yourself, more about what you're interested in, whether it be beyond modeling or modeling itself. It's really important to show your personality because brands and companies, casting directors will be looking at your social media first, if not second, after seeing you on your agency's website or discovering you through a mutual contact, whatever it may be. So really make sure that it's pristine and it represents you in the best light possible. And I'd also say get creative. Maybe show off some of those skills I mentioned earlier that you're going to be required to do, such as makeup and hair, styling, photography. Maybe arrange a few remote shoots for yourself. And whether your state allows it or not, maybe set up a social distance shoot with a photographer that you trust or a friend who's maybe interested in photography, just so you have some content to share on your social media, maybe to share with your agency as well, just so you don't become stagnant. And I'd also say also nurture existing contacts you have within the modeling and fashion industry, because you might not think so, but everyone's really having a hard time right now, whether it be on the modeling front or on the fashion side. And so definitely keep in touch with people, because you never know what they have planned for the next few weeks or months, and you might be of interest. So definitely continue communicating with your agency, building your brand business online, and nurturing those relationships you've already built with people in fashion, and just kind of making sure they stay intact.
Thank you guys so much for that insight.